Hello everyone, I'm back with another video. So this one and then the very next one I'm going to put up right within the next few minutes of each other. They're kind of a reflection of each other in terms of some of the things I'm going to cover, but this is going to hopefully be the beginning of me. I don't want to just say necessarily response videos, but I guess, no, that's probably the best way to describe this. Because a lot of things at the just beginning of this channel and this very 1.0 version of this, I have many great designs, graphs, smooth, slick transitions, all kinds of fun stuff coming. So, but what I wanted, I think, do just now in this 1.0 version of this channel is a non-Wyatt, which won't stay this way forever. I'm just looking to get a few more things in line before I make the next transition to the 2.0 platform here. And, I know you're going to think I'm still in that front, but that's a great way of describing things. Like, a lot of old tech, terms are still described in that way. 1.0, 2.0, Kindle does, and I think that's a great kind of demarcation of how you're moving through different incarnations of yourself and of time. But anywho, so this was, let me grab my notes here. So this video is inspired by, a conversation. And actually, I just went over here. I'm going to put the link in the original description. You can see the comments that I left in full, because I'm going to go through them again, just bits of it, because I didn't know that it was still all here. Because, that's the main point of this starting out is this is from, I'm going to say it once, because I'm going to keep stumbling over it. It's a weird, not weird, it's an old Egyptian name. I have to look at it when I say it too, because I find myself stumbling. Hatshepsut Economics is a channel. Here, I'll even zoom in real quick so you can just see. You can go back and find it later, because I'm not going to keep saying it over and over again, and I'll just go with the abbreviation HS for the remainder of the video, just to keep things going and flowing. So this is a video that she put up in December, and you can see the title of the article that it pertains to in an article here. The title of the video here, and then she goes into this discussion. So just in a brief summary, black women, non-white women in general, the issues now that have been kind of exposed or just starting to slowly be exposed as we are in the post 2017 election history, especially with any party or any grouping of people. If you end up on the losing side of things at the end of something, this old saying, victors don't write the history books. You end up having, to go back and reflect on your wins, your losses, people who maybe been part of the team are now starting to question their membership, etc. and so forth. So I'm going to leave that here. But what I'm going to do is I need to jump over to a comment. So I'm just going to put this down. Instead of me when you guys reading my junky notes, it's just easier this way for me to just jump over and get where I want to go and come back and forth. And also, until I get some cool visuals here, we go black to the screen and black into the screen. So, anywho. So, now you can go back and read the original comments, because actually I wasn't sure if they were still there, because the other part of this is she puts her comments on approval basis, which I agree with, which I was started doing, which I may change soon, because I just don't want, I don't know, people say it's better to have them more open, because then you get more commentary, people to kind of jump in and do stuff. So when I got a little bit too spurgy, and if you want to know the term, it's basically kind of like if you have Asperger's, or someone does have it, it may not seem like something to be, to make a casual joke about, but like a lot of the Chan, I guess, the more kind of internet troll culture, it's a shorthand way of when you get really super on this point and you drop a whole bunch of links and you just get super into it. It's just a kind of a way of saying, you're spurging out like someone with Asperger's. And so that's kind of how I felt. And I felt a little bit bad at first, because these are great points that I'm making, but A, like I'm doing now, here's your own channel to start exploring those issues, and B, it's maybe not just always the best place. It's politeful and respectful, as I pretty much always am to everyone and anyone. I felt like at the time I just got a little bit too let me go grab these links and you're wrong about this and blah, 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 blah. But, and to a degree, that could be true. But there's a time and a place for everything. And with this exchange, it really kind of hit me. Well, these are things you need to be doing a channel about yourself. These are things you need to be bringing to black women particularly, but not exclusively black women, because there's some ideas and videos to come very, very soon. I actually might take after today just the rest of this week to cobble together some basic things that I want to share with, well, I can't really describe who. That's a little short clip onto itself. Once I finally hone in on what is the target non-black woman audience to this channel. So you, as an empowered black woman, you, if you watch Kindle videos, HS videos, and each annex, each band, whomever, this is a channel that I'm directing at you, particular as black women, in those particular circles. But outside of that, there's a companion audience that I'm looking to target. Particularly white, particularly male, but from there is a very specific subset of men that I'm looking to bring into this circle too, to kind of share and discuss issues with. But I'll come back with that as I'm still honing in on that specific definition, because I even need to make a video that defines what type of black women, even though a lot of you have already interacted with or observed within those various channels I just described, CK, Simone, KSC, whomever. There's still, even within you, in that broad grouping, there's a subset of you that I think that this channel is for. And then for those of you that don't think it's particularly for, I can give you reasons why it's not. But if you open your mind to or willing to entertain or follow me down a certain subset of values and ideas and certain things like that, then yeah, this could be a place for you. But anywho, so going back to the video, breaking up the Democrats, the first comment that kind of came back after I had basically said, and I'll link the video so you can go read the comment yourself, and because I don't want to rehash the whole thing, but there's just 4 points I want to just make a quick video to finally respond to it and kind of just finally say that this is kind of one thing that inspired me to really start this channel, was this exchange. And I, in a way, liken it to what Kendall has talked about, where she said, like, this discussion about black women and birth control and controlling our wombs, this back and forth of black women gave her the impetus to create the think tank and then begin exploring those ideas. I think we're all kind of having these foundational moments as black women where we're like really honing in on some really key things here. And we can maybe always go back to these certain moments where we went, okay, it's time to do this. It's time to think this way, etc. and so forth. So the first comment that kind of came back from HS was, I sincerely welcome your feedback. I'm a black woman, as such, I do not require my experiences and perceptions to be validated. I see and feel the world through black female eyes. I'm also a New Yorker. And so I think this is how I responded. I'm a black woman as well, and with you through that whole comment until the New York part. I'm a native of the upper Midwest, and I mentioned I spent the majority of my life in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. Being a woman in black shapes how I view and manage the world around me. It is embellished by that identity, not limited by it. Now, I could be wrong, and I think this is where, after this exchange happened, I kind of just backed away and really started watching her channel and really doing or saying anything, because, this is one thing with black women I think we have to be careful of, and I have to be careful of it too. I have the relationships with my mom, not her as much as my aunt and my cousin. I think sometimes with black women, we kind of, another term, somebody talking to you, so, oh, you got a slick mouth. I don't know if that's what she kind of was trying to impart. And then when I reread what I said back about how, well, I'm a black woman too, but I took it as her saying, well, I'm a black woman, and I don't need to, hear X, Y, Z about blah, 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 blah. And I wasn't really even trying to say or suggest that. It just kind of felt like in that way she is. I don't want to, I'm not trying to cast aspersions. The big thing I'm not doing, I'm not casting aspersions on her. And I'm actually opening myself up to say that mentally I kind of reacted that way, because as a black woman I have a lot of relationships, or have had my life defined by relationships with other black women and the way we sometimes interact with each other. I mean, you can have black woman eyes, but you're still a black woman like myself that lives in a world with white women and Asian women and white men and Asian men and all types of other people. You can always view things through that lens. But as I'll go to further in different subjects in this channel, that's specifically what keeps us limited. Like, this channel is great. I mean, a lot of the financial advice and even some of the more social, interracial, current events that are kind of maybe centered on black women or include us that she covers are absolutely great, and that's fine and good. But even if she meant it or not, just the wording itself just gives me a point to kind of hone in and say to you, as any black woman listening to this, and any outside parties as I fold you kind of into what is going on here. That's one thing that keeps us losing, because if we're dark skinned, even if we're not, particularly, especially the way things change, and we're black women, and we have this black male that's our male companion in this race, and all the things that get talked about in these channels. So, I mean, if you hear this, you know what I'm talking about. Everything that we talk about on Simone's channel, Kendall's channel, CK's channel, about this black male, where things are, how we've been treated, what's said about us, we can't afford to just look at the world as black women. Or you're always going to be a black woman. It's very tricky. You're always going to be a black woman. And you're not going to change that. But you have to, we're like the most crucial woman, more so than the white, Asian, Hispanic women, that we have to look at the world through various other lenses. We have to put on other people's shoes and other people's hats from moment to moment, day to day, life to life, to understand things. And when even just saying something like that back just kind of felt like, well, I know you're a black woman. You know, she's a lovely woman. She showed her face on like a video earlier on, and you know, I'm a black woman too. I just didn't really understand why you would phrase it that way. I also kind of wonder, because I run into this too. It's funny, especially during the whole conservative Trump election, all on Twitter. I remember I got called a white neo-Nazi, white nationalist, and like, I'm like black. Like, what are you talking about? And I almost kind of for a second wondered, does she think I'm just some white troll or some white person commented here? I don't know. So anyway, going on a tangent there. Let's leave that aside. You can look at my recipe. So the other thing, the second part, which kind of hones back into the actual key part of the video, is a comment about the Democratic Party and what's going on. And I want to branch into that with some recommendations that I'll also leave in the links for you folks to look at. So she made a point that what is happening right now in the Democratic Party in regards to the social rights and advancements of women of color is our fault. Now, first, I'm going to take issue with the woman of color thing. And I know it goes back and forth for black women in these circles. And I have to just take a very firm stance here. So, you know, I'm not a woman of color. I'm a black woman. That Asian woman, that Hispanic woman don't deal with some of the shit that we don't deal with. They got their own little issues. I bet there's plenty of things that happen to them in their own racial, non-white ethnic group that they can advocate for and they can speak specifically to. But I am a black woman. I'm not a woman of color. I'm a black woman. I'm not going to be boxed in and lumped in with them hoes over there. Excuse my language, but that's how I feel. And I think as black women, that's one of the key things that's been so wrong now. Is we were... It's interesting because I'm going to serve through this whole comment. I actually might have to leave this here after this, because I got a lot to say about this. Because actually, I'll just do it this way. The third point, the comment here in this video on HS's channel deals with the alt-right, and I left some notes there and left some commentary there, which I'll link in the video. You can go watch the original video. And I think that actually owes itself a little bit more to the next video where I'm making a response to. Well, I'm making a response video to Ann X, a video she just made about MPI and about white supremacism versus white nationalism, what have you, that I want to address. So I'll save that there. So basically, the last point with HS and this whole comment stream was that in particular. So I'll just come back to that later. So the second point, which we'll just leave it here, and this will be the remainder of this video as a response to her in this video, is the whole thing about the Democratic Party. So first, as I said, I'm not a woman of color, I'm a black woman, and I know, especially with this article, this appears to have been written. I mean, this is the link in the screen grab, that this is some woman, probably some Hispanic or maybe Middle Eastern type descent or what have you, not a black woman descended from sub-Saharan black peoples like myself. So if she's a woman of color, she's a brown woman, as it says right here, brown woman, fine. All right, but that's unequivocally where I have to make a full stop on this channel, and I don't want to hear that woman of color shit, because we're black women, and there's a whole specific historical things that I'm going to get into that make us different from them that we have to focus on and drop this woman of color nonsense. There's a Twitter feed from like Kimmy K's Tube yesterday. I came up on Twitter from someone, and she went through this whole thing about the fat shaming and white women and this fat acceptance movement, and how black women got to stop caping for that junk because it benefits white women, does not benefit us. Nobody, you're not Melissa McCarthy, you ain't Amy Schumer, you have no business running your mouths and acting the way they act because it's black women. Anyway, so if you want to kind of get an idea where I'm coming from with that, that's definitely something I can talk about later. So going back to the original thing about the Democratic Party, what's happening is our fault. One of the key notes that I have to first say, and I'll just pull directly from my notes and just let that hang out here and unpack that. I wrote, to a degree, we let black men run the civil rights movement, Great Society movement to their aims and desires. We became happy to let the Dems represent too many of the poor, single mom / DMV workers. Black men become shiny leaders, faces of organizations. We become the face of fat, dark-skinned beggars. So that's a little bit of a rambly note, so I'll just kind of slowly unpack that. Don't want to keep this one too long. We're down to like about 15 and a half minutes. So I'll just go to the full 20 and see where this leads us. And now like just there's like 3 links I want to just point out here that I already kind of have up on screen. So our fault, as for black women looking, and now not us, most of us in these circles, depending on how old we are, we weren't like voting age. We weren't even born. We weren't voting age. We had, as one or two individuals, had no way of changing things in the 1960s and 70s and so forth. But we collectively, as black women, and I mean that in general broad, black women who were actually there living and on the front lines at that time, it is partially our fault, because we sat here and let this whole race, we let this black male become the leader of the Democrat parties, let him take this civil rights movement, Great Society. And going back to women of color thing, one thing that's very key is how we let like the Cesar Chavez's and lots of Asian people, other non-white peoples under this umbrella to act as this battering ram against the white man. Now, funny enough, those other two non-white groups particularly, they marched, they took some of the civil rights bennies. Then, there's a whole separate discussion. You can argue that white women, particularly as white and women, were happy to use some of those societal changes to their advantage as well. And that's definitely true to a degree. But, so it's our fault for letting all these other non-white people up under the umbrella to benefit. Now, even let's say we shared that, but it meant being diligent and doing some good things for ourselves. Those groups, they marched, they did their little outreach and this, that, and the third. But, like the Hispanics, I'm just painting a very broad stroke here. They didn't have a problem still coming up to do migrant work, as we still see today, picking fruit, gardening, clean up after wealthy white people. They had no problem. They kept the train moving. So now to this today, in 2018 and beyond, you see many second, third generation Hispanics who are working normal white collar jobs, speaking full fluent English. They'll tell you about their mother or father who was born in Mexico, didn't speak a lick of English as here. They stayed on the continuum on their race to benefit themselves and to take care of themselves. The marching and sucking up some of the rights that maybe we kind of spearheaded didn't stop them from marching a bit, but keeping their nose to the grindstone and doing things. And then with the Asians, it gets a little bit more particular. Like, I can't speak too well on the whole kind of through line of their history from those movements. But I will just add, look at the Hmongs. I'm from the upper Midwest. You got a lot of Hmong people up here. And granted, there's a good chunk of them who are still working poor, working class. Maybe got a restaurant here, this, that, or the third. They're not really ever seen, that's a Northeast versus Southeast Asian type of split of where some groups are more represented in the upper crust versus the ones who are more working class and working poor. But so without going too much into that wheelhouse, they also just kept it moving. They still vote majority Democrat too, but nobody's going to say anything about the Asians and that they marched with us or took some of those rewards or if you want to call them rewards, and kept it moving. But so anyway, I'll just try to leave that there, not to ramble too much on that point. But just bringing it back into black men and black women. One of the notes I think I made in the comment, which I'll link so you can go back and read it yourself in full, because I didn't want to go back through the whole comment itself, or the comments, but black women I think especially now, we don't really understand this Democratic Party. I don't think any of you really understand how other people, especially outside, see this. It's basically very unpolitically right. I'm going to drop it right here. It's a party of non-whites. And I'm not going to use slurs yet because I'm still figuring out this YouTube verse, what they'll take down or what they'll screen for. Brown people, homos, Muslims, and just all kinds of assorted mystery meat. Now, you can say the Republican Party is white, male, wealthy. Yeah, but even you could say these things are wrong. I'm just basically trying to tell you how people view things. I'm not trying to tell you it's right, it's wrong, it's racist. That this is not the channel for that. I'm telling you exactly 2018 today in February where things stand and how people look at things. The Democratic Party, especially in relation to black women, It's not, yeah, for you who are political people and maybe you have a nice job at your city hall in a majority Democratic city, you as a black woman probably think this Democrat Party is just looking good and fine for you. But the image that's been kind of perpetuated, and now I would say mostly rightfully, but definitely wrongfully in a lot of ways, because there's the discussions that we as black women are having in these circles definitely leans to the fact that there is a lot of misconceptions about us, but that's primarily because we don't tell nobody nothing and we let these niggas speak on our behalf. Anyway, it's the party of black women getting a welfare check, getting some WIC, 2, 3, 5 babies, like that, that horrible, was it April Jones, that video that's out there. I want to do a video on that because I'm so sick of that being put up there. But there's black women, we gotta stop lying. So basically the Democratic Party is the face of just black women, either with city, and also men too, with city jobs, government jobs, yelling at the white man about how racist he is. Let's raise the minimum wage, more money for them programs, TM. That's what people see. So yeah, it is our fault because we let the black victim, and I'm not trying to be one of these basic bitch conservatives. I really hate when they say this, but it's a good starting point to try to unpack this. We let the worst among us become the face of the party, and then this Democrat plantation, I really hate using that term because of basic bitch conservatism, but I'll use it here, becomes this idea of black people just poured in the city, can't stop shooting each other. We got a Democratic mayor, we can't stop shooting each other. We got a black Democrat mayor, can't stop shooting each other. We need more money for these programs, but as we talk about, and now it's pretty much common amongst these circles, black women won't regulate their fucking wombs. So then we sitting here talking about the white man, this Republican man, how come they don't do this and they don't care about us? Well, of course we don't care about us. So it is black women's fault, the Democratic Party, and what's happened, because we've sat here and voted, given our vote. We've sat here and degenerated. We've sat here and let this black male run all over us, and rightfully so, and giving birth to more sons to devour us, as we are starting to get the language to say and phrase it out that way. So I keep saying basic like 15 times. I apologize. So with this whole the comments back and forth in this video, the breaking of the Democrats is good, I guess, but if you're a black woman that you just, if you're going to say that and that is something to say, because I guess originally she said, well, we could take the party over. And I made the comment, how are we going to take over a party? We can't even talk about the incest rates in the black race, in the black community. We can't talk about the fact we won't regulate our wombs, which leads to more of us trying to vote Democrat for these bennies and all this bullshit. But as the Republican, not the mainstream Republican Party, more the conservative movement, the Tea Party, filters its way all the way through other more growing right movements, people are seeing you as a face of these problems, and they don't want to vote Democrat. The big thing during the Trump election that they still are trying to flesh out is a lot of these are like what they should call Reagan Democrats. Now you have Trump Democrats. And it's gotten worse now because basically the party of the Democrats is brown people, black women, non-whites, and gay people. Just they're not white, male or female, Christian or a-religious people. And they're not talking about jobs. They're not talking about economics. They're talking about money. They're not talking about money in people's pockets. And then if you're gonna vote for NAFTA and vote to ship more jobs off and be these neoliberal assholes, you asking like Bob and Judy, give them some Polish German name, Shalibowitz, Ski, I don't know, just average normal white middle America people. When this party's become the face of that, and I don't think a lot of black women really understand this now, and nobody wants to see you. And the Democratic Party, the big reason they just lost and got their ass handed to them by a reality TV show, billionaire magnate brand man. It's laughable because I just think this is why I'm here. There's so many things I don't think black women understand about what's really been happening. So as we're waking up to who was at the gate, which is a brilliant question, and God bless Kendall St. Charles every day for doing this. Now we need to start asking other questions. I think from this channel going forward, I think with black women particularly, what I'm trying to flesh out to you is, it's like somebody waking up late. And now you're up, you're asking who was at the gate, you're thinking about sovereignty, You're thinking about swirling. You're thinking about the pink pill, the blue pill, and, you know, stepping out of line and finding and becoming who you are. Funny enough, I'm going to circle this over to Richard Spencer and MPI eventually, because the tagline that they've been using for the past couple of years is "Become who you are." And more every day as I watch the way you guys interact with each other in comments, use Black women are saying, you're kind of living that ethos. You're becoming who you are, and that's awesome. And I'm in my own stages of that myself, but the problem is, I think too many of you are awake a little too late. It's like somebody just woke up, and that's awesome, but it's like, oh, it's like they were supposed to be somewhere 3 hours ago. So you don't understand the Democratic Party has become the face of, you know, just you being like the DMV angry, silent, black, fat woman, dark skin, shaking her fist at Black Lives Matters rally, or in the face of some white person because of white supremacy or something. And you don't realize that this is how people see this now, and you have to like do some damage control. So it's good that you're awake, but if you're going to be awake and still be believing a lot of the same, these tropes that don't exist anymore, that's just not going to work either. You can go on natural and stop wearing hair weaves and swirl, but if you still don't understand the political, the geopolitical, the economic fronts, the things that we're facing now as a country, as a person in the Western world, in relation to the greater world, I just don't really know what else to say. So just in closing on this Democratic Party line, it's Black women's fault for dropping the ball, and it's Black women's fault